We have had solicitors, surveyors, tax specialists and financial advisors. Today, we've got somebody who sounds like a cross between a home economics teacher and a biology teacher. Welcome to the Sunday Property Breakfast podcast, brought to you by Adrian and Candice at Anderson Jones. Every week, we'll be discussing a different property market topic. And don't forget the regular Sunday Property Breakfast every Sunday at 10 a.m. on Facebook. Welcome to the Sunday Property Breakfast podcast specials with Candice Anderson, my wonderful business partner, and we will soon be introducing you to our homeologist. We run these Sunday Property Breakfast podcast specials about specific topics. We do the Sunday ones on the current news in the market, but these are very specific ones about a part of the market that people don't know about and want to know more. And this is one that we are really curious and excited and interested about. Sally will explain in a bit more detail who she is and why she's here, but I would summarize this by saying I have a feel for what you do. You have quite a finesse for what Sally does. Sally is a PhD. That's probably the best way I can describe it. Sally, please introduce yourself.
Thank you for inviting me today. The homologist.
The homologist.
So this is obviously a made-up word. Homology is about the same or similar. And a girlfriend of mine said you can't be an ology, you have to be an ologist. And I didn't really want to be an ologist until she explained that the ologist part is the expert with. So homologist makes me the expert with your home.
You're, dare I say it, of an age and also having lived in this country, so I'm excluding Candice in this, you'll remember Maureen Lipman.
Exactly the reason why.
He's got an ology.
And that's the reason why I took
For those who
further.
don't know, Maureen Lipman did a BT advert where I think it was a grandson got really bad results in most of his O-levels at the time.
School.
But he got biology or something, wasn't it? He's got an ology.
He's got an
so
ology.
You've got an ology.
I have.
Yes,
Well, no,
yeah.
I haven't. I am an ist.
You're an ist. I love it.
So, Sally, can you explain to us why, if I was a client, why I would need a homeologist?
Sure. Thank you for asking. The homologist and my service primarily enables and empowers you as a home owner to make sure that you get the best with your home, whether you're choosing to stay and improve or to sell and move. So I come in right at the very beginning to give you all your options. So identifying the potential in your home and also highlighting the areas that may need improvement so that you can be in control and have the advantage when selling your house or choosing to sell your house.
So we do our home selling workshops, which are designed for people who are thinking of selling a little way in the future, 6 months to 2 years ahead. So it's a similar sort of client.
Absolutely.
But interestingly enough, one of the decisions they may make is, I'm not going to move. Because a lot of what they've got in their property suits them. They just need to adapt it, amend it, upgrade it.
And most people, as you know, Adrian, want to sell because they're wanting light, space and flow and storage.
Yes.
So if the question is, and people are thinking about moving, they're ideal for me because I can give them the home assessment to identify those areas where they're looking for, think they want to move. And then we can bring in my team who are structural engineers, architects and builders to make sure that we can either make it work for their home or we can't, and then we can find their new home.
So what would you say you do which an agent wouldn't do per se?
So what I do is understand the energy of the house. So when I walk in, I feel how the house feels. And that sounds a bit woo-woo. But you can walk into a house or a shop and feel cold.
Very true.
Right? And so I can work with that and I can, my team can get rid of it virtually or in person. I can bring along my saucepan lids and we joke about that, but I can get rid of, I can move some energy. But it means that if there's understanding what that energy is and holding that house, if we can clear that energy allowing the homeowners to feel better in themselves, emotionally detached from themselves, from the house, because that is a big sticking point when people want to move. And to be able to enable them to have the control of moving items of furniture or placing the furniture in the right rooms. Because to have a flow of furniture and design and style within a house enables you to live well.
And that's brilliant, because we believe, the three of us, that when you open up someone's front door, whether it be a probate or somebody wanting to upsize or downsize, you are walking into essentially what is someone's life to a degree. That is where they live or lived. And what Sally says makes a lot of sense to me, especially at something which you understand, would you say?
You two are very on a level. I think it's a male-female thing, but also I think you have this sense about things. The amount of times we've been on evaluation or met with people, and you picked up something literally from the second you walked in. And I'm guessing that although you do a detailed critique and appraisal on properties, your gut instinct when you move in, when you walk into a house is, I think these people probably ought to move, or I think these people ought to adapt their space because this is fine. And I imagine that sometimes it does go the other way, but your detailed critique is just to confirm sometimes a very educated but gut feeling of what they should do.
You're right, Adrian, and people don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
And I have this ability, this knowing, walking into a house and asking the question, who wants to sell and who wants not to sell? And generally, you can tell by the body language and the response and the tone of voice who wants to sell and who doesn't want to sell. And not wanting to sell means you can't release the house, you can't move from the house is stuck and it's on the market. So having an understanding of that energy within the homeowners themselves has that ability to connect to the house. So yes, I can walk in and we might move a sofa a foot, we might move a plant to a different place in the house. There may be very simple things that make the hugest amount of difference. And the homeowners and the house feels settled. So yes, I do feel it when I walk in, and I'm very curious. I ask a lot of questions so that the homeowners tell me, and then I can explain to them why.
It's counselling again on a.
I get very much.
We talk about this all the time. That yes, obviously we have to be marketeers, we have to be many things as an agent, but in fact, counselling is often the thing that makes the difference between being what we would say is a really good, personal, attentive, there when you need them agent and one that's not.
And I'd also counter that with, I'm a very good listener. I ask questions and I listen to the answer and then I ask more questions. But I'm also not judgmental. And I'm also giving the homeowners all the options they can so that they make the choice, they make the decision. It's their home, it's their house, it's their decision.
Yes.
I'm only there to offer them options, and whichever option they choose, I will support them. Should they ask my advice, I will share it. They may not like my advice, but they've asked it.
It's a bit like our situation where we go and see somebody who is going to sell, and we make that comment to them that how you live is entirely up to you.
Subjective,
but we need to talk to you now about how we can present your house, that somebody wants to buy it and pay the best money for it and get the best buyer. And it's a similar sort of thing with you, but particularly with this idea that one of the things that they should do is stay.
Yes.
And get around that. This hadn't occurred to me before, and I jokingly said about the fact that I have a feel for it, you have a finesse, you have a PhD. This is actually almost, dare I say it, the Phil and Kirsty thing's been mentioned about the two of us. This is almost love it or list it on a more, spiritual is probably too big a word, but
yes.
Rather than it just be, do you stay or do you do it up? This is almost love it or list it in a similar way, but on a different. different level. Is that a good way to?
Yes, it is. And a lot of people refer to me, and I actually know Kirsty
Yeah.
from many, many, many years ago, because I've been in property now 40 years. So you
were a child when you first got into
I
property.
was. I think my feeling on this is that giving homeowners the options gives them control. And traditionally, in a market where you want to put your house on the market, you go to an agent, they tell you when is the right time to sell, when they can do viewings. It's all really engineered for the agent's convenience. I really don't think that's right. And I feel that your home, your greatest asset that you have, should be within your choice and your control. So stay and improve or sell and move. Absolutely, there are options for both of those. And I feel that my service is very much more about the emotional confidence to say, yes, I want to do this or not, and to give them the support to support that, to support their decision. What Kirsty and Phil have shown the world is that you have choices. And that's exactly right. You should have choices. And mine is on a probably more well-being level, in so much that, is it the right choice? Can we make it work for you if you stay here? Is it financially correct for you to stay here? Or would it make more investment to do something else? And there may be more than two options on the table.
I love everything you've said, because Adrian and I have these discussions all the time, that when we go and see a client for evaluation and we need to try and understand what their situation is, and again, you've got to separate yourself being an agent from, your targets, how much property you want to sell, whereas we are more about, I would say, we're more on your level, where if the client is happy to sell, this is something they've got to do. We understand the situation moving forward. We understand the impact of them not selling this year if they have to put their property on the market. That to us is very, very important. Now, when it comes down to the agent side of things, do you also point them in the right direction as to which agents to use?
I do. And the very simple reason is that the local agent may not be the right person for the house. We're not selling you as the homeowners, because you're subjective. We're selling the bricks and mortar of the building. And so I would always invite the right agent for the house, as opposed to, I know John down the road who's going to sell my house. And my approach is to invite the agents in only when the homeowners are ready, the house is ready to be presented, and there's a whole process of that. And when both parties are ready to invite the agents in, then I sit with the homeowners, interview them, and ask the awkward question, because I've been an agent. We know what we know, and then it also brings out the right agent, and the homeowner feels the passion from the agent who wants to sell the house, who's not just hitting targets. So it's a showcase of my questioning and my curiosity, but also to allow the agents to express themselves in the best way that they can if they want the property, because it's a privilege to sell someone's home.
Very
completely.
true.
And in fact, what's just occurred to me as well is that by the time you come to selecting the agent, you have been through the homeowner, the whole meet Sally for the first time. You've won their confidence in what you can do. And in spite of the fact you focus a lot on that spiritual feeling about them and their home, I know that behind all of that is then in fact, it's almost like a microcosm of us, that you have that instinctive feeling about people and about the property. I then have the practicality of it. You actually, I know from experience, have all of that practicality built in. You mentioned structural engineers right at the beginning of this podcast. Well, most people, dare I say it, who would be doing just home staging and just the marketing element wouldn't be talking about structural engineers. So you have all of that.
Yes, I'm very lucky. My dad is a surveyor. So I grew up looking at property very differently.
Yeah.
And I believe that part of my approach that because it makes it successful for the homeowner is that coming in and giving the homeowner and the house a home assessment means that I can identify the potential, maximize that with the areas of improvement, and if it requires, to bring and have a pre-sale survey done.
Yes.
Because then
we know what music
the,
to my ears.
We know what the house is like, the condition of it. And if there are recommendations, I bring Team Sally in who give us the quotes.
Yes.
Whether it's deemed necessary, we do the work before the sale and we bring the agent in or not, but we have all the information. So when the agent is chosen, I can give an agent the whole fait accompli.
Yes.
So the agent really is to put it online and sell it.
Yeah. In fact, you've done that on another property for us, not
Yes.
one that was so much about the homology, but just a really good client of yours. One thing I should say actually to anybody listening to this who hasn't seen this podcast, we did one previously called Lord of All He Surveys, and it was about all the elements of surveying, one of which was a desire to do this pre-survey. We talked about it just before we're recording, about this whole idea of somebody with this, quite expensive house very often, sells it, waits for the buyer's surveyor to come in, and they're sat there praying, hoping that, and this isn't people covering up things, this is people who genuinely don't know that 30 years after they bought it, there's a problem with the roof or the back wall. And I just find that lack of control as an owner quite unbelievable. And thankfully, we get quite a number of them to do that.
You've said it correctly there, control.
It is, control. Yeah.
But again, we don't know what we don't know. And I'm very lucky. I see property every single day. Every single day. I'm very lucky to be invited to help and go and visit homeowners who were thinking about selling, who are on the market not sold, and also to go and find their next home. So I'm seeing property all the time throughout the country. Most agents are invited to a house a week, maybe, or two. I'm being general here, so forgive me with the figures. But why would you not want to get the best advice for your home? Because you do not buy your house with the pennies you find at the back of your sofa, do you?
Yeah.
So arm yourself and be as, and have as much information as possible. It makes the job for the agent who's chosen really easy. And as a homeowner that you're ready, you've got your finances are done, your paperwork's done, you've engaged your solicitor, your house is done, sorted because it's been cleared, decluttered, it's been repaired, it's redecorated. We have a survey report and all the quotes should we need them. And then your agent is going to use a great photographer. And I'm on site with the photographer. If I have to move a plant, I'll move a plant.
We move them all the time.
and then it's really simple for them to go and sell. And so the homeowner, myself and the agent really work together very well.
Yeah. And your relationship with the owners, that then they have that trusting relationship to introduce the agent, is in a way similar to us having the trust as the agent, where we then say, what about the surveyor? What about the solicitor?
Yes.
You've gained that element of trust.
Yes.
And we find that our best clients, they are always wanting advice on who to go to. And it could be everything from, we joke about the gutter clean, right through to the structural surveyor, the solicitor and the conveyancer. One of the very early sales I did, it was actually before we worked together, was a house in Hartley Whitney, 3-bedroom house, quite close to the village. And a couple who were, I think probably early 70s, wanted a bit more room and were thinking of buying one up the hill.
Okay.
About probably a 10-minute walk up the hill, 5-minute walk back down the hill. And they asked me to come and put their property on the market. And I actually said to them, you don't need to move. Why are you going up the hill? And there were the costs involved in moving. And the main reason was they had this brilliant outbuilding that was full of scruffy stuff. It was actually an original laundry building behind the cottage.
Amazing.
And it was full of stuff and bits.
Yeah.
And their 3rd bedroom was full of the office stuff.
Right.
And I just said, get rid of all of that, put
replace.
that in there, put a bit of insulation in that building so it's warmer, and then you've got the 3rd bedroom for the grandchildren. They didn't move. And they wrote a review that said no agent has ever come in and actually sold themselves out of an instruction. But
you're standing in your integrity, Adrian, and that as a proper estate agent should do. It's not about, you've mentioned already, it's not about the figures or the numbers or the transactions. It's about people
Yeah.
And people are so important, and you don't know. Well, now you do know what their situation was
Yes.
and why they were
Yes.
moving, because you asked the right question.
And again, coming back to this thing about targets, of course, we want to be successful,
Of
and
course.
we're not philanthropic and charitable. But the one thing you can't change, you can educate a client and give them as much advice. What you can't change is the timing of when it's right for them. And I sense that quite a lot of the people you work with have lived in their property for a long time.
Yes.
Are a lot of them downsizing?
We like to call it right sizing, Adrian.
Right sizing.
I like that.
There's a new name for a podcast.
Right-sizing.
Yes.
Well, right sizing, when you're a first time buyer, you want to maximise your amount of money and what you can buy.
Yeah.
And then when you're getting to your mature years, your autumn years, you want to, and I hit the microphone, sorry.
I do that all the time. Sure.
You probably don't want that, because you want to make it easy to clean, easy to move around in. You've got less furniture. You're wanting actually to look after your well-being at that point in time. So I like to, and I choose to call it right sizing. Throughout your whole property story, you're going to change for whatever reason, whether you're having a family or you're not, we're empty nesting. So there are reasons for it throughout your property story. And most of my clients are of an age where they are deciding whether to buy a larger house and have multi-generational, or they're going to reduce the size of their right size, and then they can have more time to do what they want to do. Timing is really important. I'm a big fan of when it's right for you, because it could be health, relationships, work,
Tax.
Yep.
finances, yes.
Dare we say?
Because there are nine plus elements of why you would move anyway.
Well, and it's, again, going back to what you do. We love what you do. And it does, you speak from your heart, and it's something we're passionate about, because, as you've rightly said, number one, it is your biggest asset you'll ever have. Number two, when it comes to having to think about selling your property, it is daunting for most people. It is scary. And let's face it, you do need that emotional support. You need to know exactly what you need to be prepared for. And Sally, with all your experience you've had, because you've worked in places like Wimbledon, I mean, goodness me, you've got an incredibly rich background when it comes to property. I love what you do. And I think with what you do, you've got to have a lot of patience, right? You are a very good listener. You are empathetic. But there are going to be times where you're facing a situation where somebody, let's say, doesn't necessarily, as you said before, doesn't necessarily want to sell. They have to move because of a physical issue, a disability, for example. How would you handle that?
It's very much understanding what the driving force is and why they are wanting to move. Once I understand and I know the reasons, emotional and physical and financial reasons, because all the three are intertwined, as you can imagine, then it's really about how I can support them to make it easy for them, and then move them to the next home. A recent example is my parents. So my dad fell over 4 years ago, has some mild cognitive impairment, and things are not easy. Big house, 42 years we lived there, and we have a lot of stuff, So it takes time to plan, to prepare your house. So they engaged me as a client. So they engaged me to work with them. So they became my clients. And it's interesting when your family are clients, because they don't always do what you say, and they're quite rude to you sometimes. But it happens. And we had a plan. So they followed the plan. They went from room to room decluttering. And if they couldn't clear enough, we got charities in to help. Yeah. We took it out, we sold stuff. So I put all that in place for them. My parents live an hour and a half south of here, so it's not local, but I was there 3 days a week for about 7 months to make sure that worked out. My team came down, they all helped. So we had EPC, we had floor plans, we had photography, we had the guy who cleared the house and took it all to auction and sold. We had cleaners that came in before we invited an agent in. the disability that my dad has is a mental one. So the conversations were emotional. The conversations were protracted. We had to, and I wanted to make sure that he understood everything and he was in control, which he was, which is fantastic. So every day we had the options. Dad chose. It's his house, his money, his decision, not mine. I'll support them. The first agent they chose was not my choice. They didn't sell it, and it took some time. And so I removed everybody from the market, and the second agent sold it in 8 days because I knew it was the right thing to do. But I wasn't, it's not my house, not my decision. But I supported their decision, did everything they could do. Having those difficult conversations with someone that hasn't got always the mental capacity to make decisions. He's fine. He's great. Yes. He's very, very mild. Sometimes he forgets. We all forget, don't we? He was in control. He made the decision. All I gave him was options. But it is to take a long time. They're happy where they are now in their retirement village apartment. And we've actually got some other friends that have moved in there. And they love it. And both of them continually say, thank you for helping us move. We should have done it 10 years ago, which is what I would have loved them to have done 10 years ago. Not now.
Can I ask you a meat and drink nuts and bolts question, which you don't have to answer?
Okay.
So they obviously moved, so you've had success.
Yes.
And in fact, I think it's absolutely right. They made the choice of the agent. As it turned out, they got it wrong. You then brought in the one that you chose, and it sold quickly. You may not even be able to remember these figures, but if it had just gone on the market, a little bit of a tidy up, bit of a clean, wash the windows, sweep, the path. But an agent, dare I say, who just went in, wanted this listing on this great house and sold it. What do you think the difference was between what price you'd have got then and what you then achieved through the whole of the homology?
Oh, good question.
Great question.
Apart from the ability to sell it, by the way, because
yes,
to me, there's two factors of this. It's, what price do you get? But it's also saleability.
Yeah. So let me caveat that by saying my mum did not want her kitchen online. So we didn't actually put any internal photographs on. And the agent that was instructed suggested to me that they couldn't sell because they couldn't have those pictures. My response was, I bought a house that I haven't even seen in Devon, and it's not difficult because actually what you're doing as an agent, you're explaining by words and the imagination and the possibilities.
What about a new home?
And why don't you just come and see it?
Yeah.
Because for me, the simple thing is the front door, the address, the price, floor plan, EPC. You don't need anything else because it's subjective.
Yes. Yep.
The bones of the house are there and they're good.
And that's what we talk a lot about our listings online, our social media posts about a property. It's a movie trailer. It's not a catalogue of the house. If bedroom 4 is tiny with garish wallpaper and full of stuff, we don't even film it.
Okay.
Now, you as a homologist would say, I'm going to do something about that wallpaper, I'm going to declutter it. But from a practical point of view, we don't always have the time to do that. So this is not a library shot of the house. This is movie trailer, get people to the front door. Once people are at the front door, that's when we do what we do.
And I didn't answer your other question.
No, you didn't.
Purposefully.
I want money. I want figures. I want filthy lucre.
But I think...
What's filthy lucre?
It's from a movie somewhere, isn't it? I think.
Lucre?
Yeah.
No, I haven't heard that one.
Yeah.
Me neither.
Yeah. I'll have to look at it later what it is. I'm sure it's out of a movie.
But just to go back to your... And I'm not ignoring it, but just to go back to the question was, if we had sold the house, if we had presented the house as my parents were living there, we wouldn't have got the money that we had. I was able to move them, clear it, so it was vacant. And I believe vacant properties sell really well because if you're the right agent, or you're me that's showing them around,
Yeah.
you have that imagination. You're not saying that this is the kitchen, this is the bathroom, sorry, microphone again. But this is about knowing your purchaser, your client, whoever your applicant is, knowing what they've registered for and what they're looking for, to say, imagine, look at the possibilities you could do this with.
It's the blank canvas, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is wonderful.
Yes.
We had a similar scenario in the Blue Triangle in Fleet. We had great success with that. One weekend, and it was a major project. You had to get it completely decluttered and cleaned. I wasn't even allowed walking in there because Adrian said to me, I don't want you to experience this. To which I thought, well,
Now I do.
yeah, I'm a very curious person, so you know. When I walked in, when we had the open house that weekend, you never would have thought it was cluttered. You did an outstanding job making sure it was done properly. All we did was little touches like some candles, some music. It was in the middle of winter. And we had a little table with chairs, beautifully set, by the way, with some coffee. And we sold it that weekend. Gone. And it is true. It's people understanding the size of property they need. It's a blank canvas. They go in, and again, it's back to the feeling.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you feel when you walk into a property? Some people walk into a property and they go, oh my word, this is our next home. This is it. Wouldn't you say?
And that's all you want. So as a homeowner, we're only guardians of our houses.
I love that.
Mm.
So we're only here to look after it for a while. So when we're selling, we need to detach ourselves emotionally from it. And that's generally the sticking point. And that's where I come into play. But if we're emotionally detaching, we're selling it so that we have the ability, the homeowner, to move on to our next home, because that's what we want the shiny thing over here, right? So if you've got that in our mindset, to be able to present the home to sell makes it relatively easy. There's a process: clear, declutter, repair, redecorate, enhance, which is again what I do at the end. But as a homeowner and as an agent especially, all you want someone to do is come, I could put my pink sofa there, or I feel at home, or you see the shoulders drop and they walk around and they come back on a weekday, in an evening, in the weekend, because that purchaser is spending money. You want to give them as many times throughout the 24 hours of a day that you are able to see that house, for them to feel it and to make sure that they understand that they could live there.
I think one important thing, you've mentioned the personal story with your parents, which was obviously quite a long-term role, not in actually the decision-making, but actually the actioning took several weeks and months.
Because there's an acceptance, and then we acted.
But also these things can be done quite quickly,
Yes.
and you scale down, a bit like we do with our own staging. If somebody's seen something they want to buy and they want to get the house on the market, there's no point us spending 3 months doing staging and repainting and repair your fence in your garden. Otherwise, they'll miss the house. So there are stages of how long you spend. I've got one. This is brilliant, by the way. I've got one question left. You may have one. Can you think of the one thing that you've done with a property that had the biggest single impact, either on the buyer or indeed the homeowner?
About 18 years ago, I was invited to go back to sell a house that I had bought back in 2000. Unfortunately, the homeowners were divorcing. She was in America, he was in England. It's a Victorian house in Richmond. And I was invited to go back because they needed to move on, finish the settlement. The way that they lived with their 5 children, when they started, they had 5 children and they had gone over the years, the furniture was in the wrong room. And the reception hall, as you walk up the stairs, and the grand reception hall they had the dining table in there. So we moved it into the dining room at the back. It was darker. It was more intimate. They had the fireplace there. And so I bought some furniture. I just bought a lovely chaise, very nice throw, some matching cushions, some tables and some lamps. We had to change some bedding and bedside cabinets in the main bedroom, and we painted one study. That was it.
And it immediately made the house different.
The agents the second agents came in to sell it, again, got the best price for it because it made such a difference coming in and having the right furniture in the right room. It wasn't over furnished at all. And we probably did 3 rooms in the whole house of 4 floors. But the reception room, the dining room, the master bedroom with the ensuite and the dressing room were the key places. And that it was fantastic to be I was able to buy the house on a Sunday in 2000, a long time ago, but it was a great purchase. And then to be invited back again to be able to sell it on to a new resident. That was one of my best ones.
Sally, we do these podcasts to help people understand facets of what we do, surveying, downsizing, we called it. I have to say that because people will reference the previous podcast. And we do it mainly without being boastful. A lot of the time we're passing on information that we know.
Sure.
One of the things I've loved about this is that we've been hopefully passing on a lot of information that people don't know. I've learnt quite a lot today, even though we know each other.
Right.
I've learnt more because we don't sit down and say, come on, tell me exactly what you do. And I absolutely love that. I think the important message for everybody listening to this or watching this is we'll put Sally's details in the podcast so that you've got her contact information. I think the important thing is, obviously, if you're thinking of selling your house, you'd probably be talking to us. Well, you better be. And we can put you in touch with Sally. I think the important thing is Sally's involvement could come way, way ahead of that, because going back to where we started, this is about whether you sell or whether you stay and enhance and make your current property what you want. Sally, can't thank you enough.
Thank you.
Really, really brilliant podcast. We look forward to seeing you again soon on the Sunday Property Breakfast podcast specials. We've got a few really good ones lined up today. It was just a brilliant one. Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Sunday Property Breakfast podcast. We hope you've enjoyed this week's episode. Please feel free to share it with anyone you know who you think might enjoy listening in. And if you have any questions that you'd like us to answer directly, then just email hello@andersonjones.co.uk. See you next week.